Welcome to TradersPost office hours for June 24th, 2025. I'm one of your hosts, Tom Hartman, marketing manager here at TradersPost, alongside Mike Christensen, co-founder and CSO, and John Wage, founder and CEO. We're always working to make TradersPost the best day in and day out, and for that, we need your help. Each week, we dive deep into the questions, feedback, and feature requests that you have sent in order to make TradersPost the best automated trading platform in the multiverse. And we thank you for your assistance. Before we get started, I'll just ask the gents, how are you doing? How has your week been?
Doing well. We got a lot of exciting stuff we're working on here at TradersPost, so I'm pumped to see a lot of these improvements coming out the door.
If we could have maybe a couple weeks of time without a broker going down, that'd be nice too.
Good point.
I assume you would want the president not to start a war in the Middle East. Come on, that's good. Things are going to happen. Things are going to happen.
That was an exciting thing to have ended very quickly. Yeah.
I mean, as far as traders are concerned, it's pretty interesting.
It's like a rite of passage, I thought, for U.S. presidents is to start a war in the Middle East.
Rite of passage is to say you won't start a war and then start a war. That's like the order of operations, which is fine.
You got to get a regime change.
Right. Well, before trading, I remember being very annoyed by that. Now it doesn't hurt as much when you're inside of a trade. You're like, okay, well, this is terrible, but I didn't make some money off of that. Speaking of which, after hours last Friday, we were talking about the
Circle.
idea of black. Circle was unbelievable.
Black Swan, yeah.
Black Swan events that can happen. I just want to re-mention because the Incerto series from Nassim Taleb is fantastic if you're a new trader and you're coming into the markets and you're not sure how to deal with volatility and uncertainty. It is super useful to have like a framework of how to think about these things. Anti-fragile, fooled by randomness, Beta Procrustes, and Black Swan. These are all I find to be must-reads. But it is 111 degrees here where I am, and so the outside has completely infiltrated me. So let's get to the questions for this week. I want to start off. We actually had a bunch of technical questions, and a lot of them are going to be on some error messages that are there, usually from the broker. But let's go ahead and start with the first one. Where the person asked, I had connected to an evaluation account on Topstep and blew through the account. I now want to connect my practice account, but I'm getting the message that I have consumed both the strategies that are available with my free account. However, I'm only using one strategy so far. The other one was created in error and is flagged as disabled. Can you tell me how to add another strategy?
I think he's probably confusing strategies and brokers, it sounds like. Yeah. Because there's no limits on strategies or subscriptions, only on accounts. So he probably needs to delete the connected accounts and then reconnect and then choose the practice account.
Yeah, and I think what I'll do is I'll add some content around rotating accounts in this way, because as any prop firm trader knows, we're basically just losing accounts and adding new ones to the TradersPost environment pretty frequently, if you're a terrible trader like I am. So the process is you effectively can delete the broker and the subscription of the failed account and then add the new one and subscribe that to the same strategy. So you're able to just very quickly rotate accounts into the same strategy and send the same signal.
Great. All right, next up. I'm allowed 2 live accounts and 6 paper accounts. Can I swap a paper account for a live one? Someone was asking this.
I'm allowed 2 live accounts and 6 paper accounts. Can I swap a paper? No. No.
Not at the moment. Paper accounts are obviously cheaper on an a la carte basis for a reason. So if you want to add a live account, you would just need to purchase an additional one within your plan.
That's right. I'm actually surprised I didn't see this question a lot more frequently, but no, can't switch that.
Is he asking, can he use one of his live accounts as a paper account or use one of his paper accounts as a live account? I can't really tell.
It was a paper account for a live one. That's what they were asking.
So he wants 3 live accounts and 5 Correct. Paper, or okay.
Yeah, they were just using like 2 paper accounts or whatever. And he's like, hey, I have these paper accounts hanging around. Can I just use a live account on it?
Got it. Okay.
All right. Next up here. What are the pros and cons of sending alert signals from a strategy versus an indicator on TradingView? I thought this was an interesting question because when I was looking online, a lot of people think that there's not a particular difference. And there's some quality of life differences that exist within TradingView when you are doing this. Actually, there's a number of circumstances where I find developing your strategy as an indicator works a lot better than as a strategy. So first of all, when you're dealing with strategy on TradingView, there's a bunch of additional options that you'll have that you don't necessarily have in the indicator. So for example, to be able to calculate on every tick versus not, versus calculate after an order has been filled versus not. Why you might want this? Well, you might be, your script might be processing a lot of data in order to generate the buy and sell signals that in an indicator where it's running on every bar, it might be too heavy and you might hit your memory limit. But on the strategy, if you're only loading it after every order flow, let's say, you can get more bang out of your buck. You can actually run more powerful strategies. So that's one thing that I found interesting. You also have the when you can only have a position in one direction in TradingView. You can only ever be long and short. You can never be both at the same time. Whereas if you build your strategy within your strategy concept within an indicator, you can have hedging, you can have long and short positions, you can have you can even deal with multiple tickers. You can really be far more creative with it. You don't have the advantage of the strategy tester and the back tester the way that you normally would within TradingView, the interface, but you can always build custom components for that and export the data yourself. So
I think another use case is say you have a strategy that has a take profit and a stop loss, and you want to back test it where the take profit and stop loss is executed in TradingView in the back test. But then when you're forward testing it with TradersPost, you would use an indicator and it would only send the entry alert with the take profit and stop loss in the entry JSON. And then it would never send a signal to exit because the broker is going to take care of exiting with the specific take profit and stop loss.
Right.
I think that's one other use case that I've seen some people do. And we did that with the Momo strategy. There's a strategy version and then an indicator version.
Right. So there is more heavy lifting when you're doing it with the indicator than you are with the strategy. So that's one of the pros and cons. The benefit, one of the benefits of using the strategy for the alert as opposed to the indicator is that, well, it depends how you think about it. You can, depending on your plan, I think from premium plan on up on TradingView, you can use the use bar magnifier option, which allows you to, the strategy will pull from the lowest time frame that it can in order to trigger trades. So in some circumstances, it's what you would want versus on an indicator. Because on the indicator, if you're running it on the actually, the bar magnifier only works for backtesting, so forget it. It wouldn't even actually affect the alerts. The one last thing I wanted to mention, if you want to switch to my screen here, so I have on my TradingView screen a TradingView indicator and a strategy. And if I were to create an alert using the indicator, you'll notice that within the indicator, within the alert screen, I have access to all the different plots that are within this indicator. And so I can go ahead and granularly choose to tie my alerts based on these things. And I can sort of like compose my own or decide on my own buy signals, sell signals, depending on what that indicator provides. So you have more granular control. You get to choose what time frame you want to use, once per bar close, all kinds of different options. But if I were to switch this to the strategy, all those options are gone, and it's basically taking its cue from how the strategy is built. So unless the strategy provides you with the settings here to change the alert messages, to change the frequency, to change whatever, you're not going to have that. It'll be like whatever the strategy decided. So if you're building the strategy yourself, you're coding yourself, it's not such a big deal. If you're getting it from somebody else, you might not have control, the granular control that you're looking for. Also, when you're sending the message, within your alert on a regular indicator, you have the message field is tied to that particular alert. Here's where you would actually put the JSON code for to send the JSON message over the TradersPost. But when you are using a strategy, You don't have the ability to set the message here directly in the same way, because it's one message for the entries and the exits. And so normally within the strategy settings itself, there will be fields that allow you to customize what those messages are. And then within the alert field, you would use strategy alert, this placeholder. 1 second. You would use this placeholder, and this placeholder would be replaced with the text from the script. So it just depends how you want to manage it, what you find to be the most useful. Like John was saying, if you just have as a rule to set up, do your testing on the strategy script and just run it as an indicator, I find that like mitigates a bunch of problems or issues I might have, and I could always then go back, make modifications to the strategy, changes, whatever, and then roll that into the indicator version.
So I have a question, actually. I don't write much Python script these days. I think when I first started TradersPost, like I wrote, a few example strategies. And I remember when I wanted to get values to my JSON, I would plot them. And then I'd use like plot_0, and it was just incremented. Is that still the same, or they improved that?
You can still do that. Not only can you use like whatever is the number, the plots
They
are
have
ordered.
named plots now, right?
You can have named plots as well. But you
So
can
if you
also
have
just pass the value.
Right. So
you
if I like just have a calculated take profit, limit price, and a stop loss stop price, and it's basically just adding and subtracting from the close price, like whatever the current price is, I can plot that price, give it a name, and then I can access it as a variable in the JSON.
Yeah, but that was more important before we had alert messages on the strategy calls themselves. So now that we have that, we can actually pass those values as a string and then send it as a JSON message. But that plot stuff happened back in the day when you're basically just using indicators. So you had to find some way of referencing that within the main alert.
So that works if you're building the JSON in your Pine script and you're like compiling the Java, the string of JSON. But if you are pasting the JSON into the alert message, you would use the plotting to give it a named variable, and then you can use that variable in the message text area.
That's right. Exactly.
Okay.
So that's Peter, if you want to switch my screen over here, that's this over here. The if you go into the alert message and you click on the little the question mark, you'll see here on the right side it has information on the plot and how to reference that within your alert messages.
Nice. Cool. That's a lot better.
So we got a good question here in the chat around having recently added a bunch of Topstep accounts. How do I check that the algos are working? It might be good to kind of cover a few different ways in which you can check for that. The most common path to take is to head to your strategies dashboard and find the strategy where you're sending signals and click the signals link. And that's going to show you all your incoming signals, along with any success or failure responses. Make sure it'll give you a quick sense of whether each of the accounts you have connected have successfully been traded or not, or at least the signal came through properly. That strategy signals dashboard is usually where I start. You can also look at your subscriptions and look at the individual trades from those subscriptions. And then the last thing you can do is look at the webhook logs to see what's coming in for each. But honestly, the strategy signals page is usually the best place to start to make sure that the incoming signals are successfully routed to each broker connection that you have within TradersPost.
Got it. All right. Next question we have here. All right. I'm not sure we actually have an answer for this. I'll ask Mike. If I use QuantConnect and have the code ready for a prompt firm challenge on the Project X platform, does the QuantConnect code need to be live and running on their platform to connect via TradersPost? Is there any such thing as like a connection between QuantConnect and TradersPost? I've never used the platform before.
There theoretically is. I haven't had a chance to really test this out fully, but my understanding is they allow you to send webhooks at predefined places within your code. I don't know exactly how the event handler works or exactly when they're sent, but there are a number of webhook requests you're able to make within an algorithm. So in theory, you could stand up a webhook request off to TradersPost and send the signal to trade, and it would be routed to your Project X accounts. That's totally a viable use case for why you'd want to do this, especially since QuantConnect only has a certain limited number of brokers that they support internally. And obviously Project X is not one of those integrations that they currently support. So there's a good use case for this. That said, I'm not exactly sure how the process works. I think there's also a fairly low limit to the number of webhook calls you're able to make. I don't know what pricing plan this user's on. But I think on some of the lower pricing plans, there's a pretty low limit on the number of outbound requests that you're able to make with a webhook. So all that said, it is something I will look more into. We've had a couple of requests around QuantConnect, so I'll stand something up on my side and we'll test it out and give more documentation and guidance on how that can actually work. Yeah, so that's the best answer I have for now.
All right, that user had another question here where they're talking about hosting the signal. So I noticed in your FAQ section that you mentioned 24/7 trading without needing to keep your computer on. But the examples only reference TradingView and TrendSpider. Does the 24/7 functionality work the same way for all platforms?
Yeah, the beauty is it does. At the end of the day, as long as the platform that you're generating a signal from doesn't require you have to have your computer on, like let's say MetaTrader or something like that, where you have inbound signals coming in, you have to have MetaTrader open in order to send a signal off to TradersPost. That would be an example where this doesn't apply. But most platforms today, especially if it's a modern web-based application, offer cloud-based alerts. In the case of TradingView and TrendSpider, they're both cloud-based alerts. So the alert will trigger in the background on TradingView servers, be sent to TradersPost in the background in the cloud on our servers, and your trade will get executed with the broker. In those instances, you don't have to keep your computer on or anything like that.
I think the only ones I know of are MetaTrader that you mentioned. NinjaTrader has their desktop application as well, but I don't know if it can send webhooks.
I don't think it can.
Okay. So it's probably just MetaTrader is the only one that I'm aware of.
Yeah, another one I'm testing. I have on deck for testing next is QuantConnect, because that's come up a few times in support, and I've also had a few people ask about Book Map. So I'm going to give Book Map's API a test. I don't know if you have to have Book Map open or not in order to send a signal out, but in theory, if that also works in the cloud, then you'd be able to send signals from Book Map as well.
All right, and just for the sake of completion, that user had a third question where they were asking if my QuantConnect strategy is designed for swing trading, but the futures firm requires positions to be closed by the end of the day. Can I use the same code and rely on a function in your system to automatically close positions at day's end? We do not have within TradersPost a feature to close positions automatically at day's end.
Not at the moment, no. So you would have to schedule an event within QuantConnect, which is a function within the QuantConnect environment that closes those positions out at the end of the session and then effectively reopens them at the electronic hour or at the start of the next session, whatever makes most sense for your strategy. But the beauty of that, of having you code that in your QuantConnect strategy, is that will allow you to backtest that as well to confirm that closing out at the end of the session and reopening in electronic hours or reopening at the start of the next session is actually a profitable strategy. It's good to have that historical context to make sure that's going to work.
Oh,
I just realized
something. Overnight moves.
I just realized something. So we have a market clock for the stock market in our software, but the futures, I guess, is way more complicated because every exchange, depending on the symbol, can have different session hours.
Different opening times, yes, but usually they, at least when in the context of prop firm trading, it's all closed at the same time.
I just mean in general, like with futures, because like outside of like the CME and other exchanges where they have different, like different trading stuff, like it's not like U.S. equity or U.S. futures. I don't think we support any, but like I remember when we were doing the interactive brokers integration, there were futures exchanges outside of like the big four, like the CME and all those.
Yeah.
And obviously it's a different country, different time zones and everything. So they have completely different hours, but it just got me thinking that if we do ever build something like that, we'll have to have maybe Polygon can provide that as well, but we'll have to have data around basically the market clock for individual tickers or exchanges at least.
Okay. We'll take note of that for our roadmap. You guys are getting a little sneak peek into some of our development cycle here.
All right, moving on. This is an error message a user had. So I have the set strategy and subscription, and when I send signal, I get this error: failed to enter new position. Non-field errors. We're required to have you answer some questions about your investing goals before we can allow you to continue using Robinhood. Is this a normal one? I think I've seen this once before.
Now they just, so Robinhood has some restriction. You have to like figure out how to get to the survey or the form, whether it's on the Robinhood app or the website. I'm assuming I've never gotten it myself, and I'm assuming if you log in, maybe try to submit an order from the Robinhood app and see if it'll prompt you to answer the survey. But that's an error that comes from Robinhood. So they have to figure out how to answer those questions on the Robinhood side.
Right. Yeah, I believe they should be able to see either in their notifications in the Robinhood app or in the account section of the Robinhood app. It should be somewhere in there that they need to complete those questions.
All right, excellent. Before we head off to the last couple of questions, let's just get a quick word from our sponsors.
Ask yourself this: are you making trading harder than it needs to be? If you're trading manually or still coding just to connect to your broker, yeah, it's time to upgrade. TradersPost lets you automate trades using signals from tools like TradingView or TrendSpider or even your own custom setup. It works with brokers like TradeStation, Trade8, Coinbase, and a bunch more. I've been using it myself, and getting started was smooth. The platform's clean, setup's quick, and once it's running, it just works. And when you're ready to scale, adding more strategies, plugging into prop firm accounts, or juggling multiple portfolios, TradersPost handles it. It's built to grow with you. Start your free trial at TradersPost.io. Trade smarter, automate your edge.
All right, a couple of questions here about Project X. So this user asks, I am currently exploring the use of Project X for futures trading through TradersPost, and a few questions I hope you can clarify. The first one is prop firm compatibility. Does TradersPost officially support integration with the futures desk prop firm via Project X? If not, are there any plans to add this firm in the future? So I just want to mention here, to show my desktop over here, that if you want to find out what prop firms are accessible to us, you can see it right here, right, folks? You can see it right in the TradersPost dashboard. And down here, My Funded Futures is right here.
The futures desk.
Oh, sorry, the futures desk. The futures desk, yeah.
So yeah, either on the connections page or within the connection flow here, anything that's listed as a prop firm on here is a supported prop firm.
It's also on the website too. If you go to the website,
yeah, the connections page on the website. Yep.
If you click connections and then click Project X.
Here. All right. Okay, their next question was paper trading support. I'm currently considering using the paper trading option with that prop firm, the futures desk. Will TradersPost support this type of connection for testing strategies in a simulated environment before going live? So do we use the paper information? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Do we use the paper the prop firm connection in order for the data inside of the paper trading account?
I guess I'm a little confused by the question. In order to test the strategy before going live in a simulated account, yes, you could use the TradersPost paper account or a practice account that's provided by the prop firms.
But not all prop firms provide the practice accounts, is what I've seen.
Yeah. So I think in this case, if they're asking about testing strategies in a simulated environment before connecting the prop firm account, the best thing to do would be to use your TradersPost paper account first, test out the strategy, make sure all the trades are going through properly, and then you will have no issues. From there, you can just transfer over or connect the prop firm account and start sending your signals over to that. We do have a comment here that I want to answer to in our comments for the show here around not all prop firms allowing bot trading. And while that's true, it is important to distinguish between two different things here. Some people use TradersPost to copy trade their own accounts across multiple accounts, and most prop firms support that activity. The ones that are connected to our platform that allow account scaling or multi-account trading or copy trading, whatever phrase you want to use there, are Blue Guardian, Blue Sky, Perdia, the Futures Desk, Topstep, Tradeify, Trade Day, E8, Apex, the list goes on and on. The ones that allow bots, and they do absolutely support automated trading, and they've specifically set it either to us directly or it's in their documentation, are Blue Guardian, Blue Sky, Perdia, the Futures Desk, Topstep, Tradeify, Trade Day, and E8. X. Those are the main ones that allow automation. There are others that, of course, strictly prohibit it, and you just need to check the terms on their website to confirm which ones do and which ones don't. But we've been keeping an eye and in contact with a lot of these firms to make sure that we're supporting this in the right way.
I think that's one of the things that's always been tricky with us is that TradersPost is automation, but people are also using it for the manual trading, and they're replicating the trade. So like, I think it's been a challenge for us, like distinguishing those behaviors on the website, because people see TradersPost and it's primarily automated trading.
Right.
I think that brokers have seen that as well. That's just like immediately they think it's nothing but automated trading, like bots.
Yeah, we're working on the marketing side. We're working on some improvements to the homepage to make sure it's clear that this is not just for automated trading, although it is very much used for automation. It can also be used for account scaling on a discretionary basis.
And I think eventually we'll have the changes that we've been working on recently, that working on it internally, not live in production yet, but making it more compatible with platforms like TradeSyncer, where you can actually have like a leader account and then you have followers. And it's actually listening to the WebSocket in real time. So you actually don't have to place the trade in TradersPost. You can use your mobile phone, whatever app you normally use to trade. And then that signal would get sent to TradersPost automatically, and we would replicate it across all the follower accounts.
Yep. Thanks for the question, Pairweiser.
Last question from them for Project X, integration details. This is a broad question. Could you please provide a more in-depth explanation of how the integration of Project X works, especially with respect to the Futures Desk prop firm? My main concern is ensuring that the connection is solid and reliable for real and paper trading.
I mean, it works the way all of our integrations work in the Project X. We integrate with Project X in the way that they allow people to integrate. There's really no other way to do it. But basically, you have an API key and a username. You input that API key and username into TradersPost. We use that to fetch an access token, and we store that access token in our database. And then we can use that access token to create orders, cancel orders, fetch your open positions, fetch your order history, fetch an order by ID, fetch the list of available broker accounts. And that's pretty much it. We use those API calls to plan trades, to send orders, to cancel orders when necessary. We have, I think, 15 broker integrations now. They're all really reliable and they stay connected. A few of them have issues with staying connected, but it's more of an issue on the broker side. TradeEvade in particular, most of these integrations are built on top of something called OAuth. And the OAuth specification has a concept of access tokens and refresh tokens. And it's obviously it's kind of complicated, but I guess the simple way to explain it is like access tokens are for like they're short-lived, they expire. Refresh tokens don't expire or don't expire as often. Access tokens can expire every hour or every 24 hours. Sometimes, again, it depends on the broker or the exchange. It can be from hours to days. And then the refresh token is used to renew or refresh the access tokens. So whenever we go to try to use the access token, if it's expired, we use the refresh token to grab a new access token. And that's how we basically maintain persistent connections to the broker. But in the case of TradeVate, they actually don't support refresh tokens. So the issue is you can use the access token to renew your access token, but you have to do it before the access token expires. And the access tokens expire every hour. And the issue with that is if TradeVate's down for an hour or more, or is down during the time when we're trying to refresh those access tokens, then we kind of miss the window to keep that access token alive. And then once TradeVate comes back up, the access token is expired. We can't renew it. And then that forces the user to have to manually reconnect their account to TradersPost. But if you implement OAuth correctly, then we can use those refresh tokens to get a new access token, no matter how much time has passed.
Would that sort of thing like affect if you weren't using TradersPost and you're at the the prop firm itself? Could they suffer such a problem with the with TradeVate?
Well, the thing is that with TradeVate, like it's all manual trading. So like if you're in the browser and like you have the app open, it could happen where like if you're inactive, for an extended period of time, like you can get logged out and you have to enter in your username and password again to get a new access token. Like TradeVate and Project X, like their browser-based application doesn't keep you logged in forever. If you're inactive for a certain amount of time, then that access token expires and you can't renew it because the access token is expired. And then you have to enter in your username and password again to get a new access token. So it's the same idea. It's just TradersPost is 24/7. It has to have persistent connection that stays open all the time, because we could receive a trade at any moment and we have to have a connection ready to go to submit that trade. But I've reported and asked for this feature from TradeVate, and they have it on their roadmap. And I actually checked in on it like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they replied and said that like the development has actually started on it. So once we have refresh tokens, when you connect your TradeVate account, we'll store both the initial access token and the refresh token. And then we can use that refresh token to basically make sure that we always have a valid access token. So if TradeVate goes down for 24 hours or however long, and we're not able to keep those access tokens alive, then when TradeVate comes back up, we'll basically be able to use that refresh token to get a new access token. And then the refresh, it's like, and again, it depends on each broker, but like the refresh token hopefully will have an expiration of like a year or some amount of time that's like longer than a day or something like that.
Hopefully longer than any typical outage window is the point.
Yeah, right. And then we have a process that renews those refresh tokens as well. Basically, like we keep track of when that refresh token is going to expire, and before it expires, we renew it and get a new we're basically swapping the tokens. I'm like, say, here's my current valid refresh token, give me a new one, and you just swap it out. The old one becomes invalid, and then you get a new one with a new expiration date, and that window kind of gets pushed out another 6 months or 3 months or however long the expiration is for.
So to the original poster, it's a great question and something I think we can elaborate more on. Our documentation will add to this, but we do follow what is considered sort of an industry standard here for OAuth connections. And most of our broker connections offer OAuth. And so hopefully that adds some confidence there that we're following all the steps to properly maintain connections to your brokers and to exchanges to ensure that anytime a trade comes in, we've got the ability to execute on your behalf. And we maintain that connection according to the specifications of the way we're allowed to connect with these brokers. As things improve, we make improvements on our side as well. So it's definitely a stable and solid connection to most exchanges and brokers.
Awesome. Okay, you guys are both hired. I like the cut of your jib. You guys know what you're talking about. Love it. All right, a couple of let's end on a couple of error messages here. The next one is, what does this mean? Fail to enter new position. General invalid arguments. Volume minimum not met. This was Is this the thing where they didn't set the position size was too small? Is that what this error is?
Basically, it's an error. I was laughing because it's just so funny, and I do it too. I'm a developer. I'm a tech person, and like the UI and the error messages are hard to write, but you can just totally tell that like a developer wrote this, and no one outside of the tech team ever reviewed it and was like, let's write it to where it makes like sense. But yeah, I'm guessing this is. I'd have to see which broker it is. I think
It's
that's
Kraken.
Tasty Trade. It was Kraken.
No, this was Kraken. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So like I knew it was crypto because crypto pairs basically have like a minimum quantity, and it's the minimum quantity is different depending on the symbol you're trading. So yeah, the quantity that was sent for that symbol was probably just too low.
So the follow-up with this is that they were asking, is there a list somewhere where we can see what all the minimum amounts are for TradersPost? I don't think we have a list for that.
We do, sort of. If you open up the symbol and click view quote, there is a, do you remember what symbol it was?
No, but I can find that.
But like if you just pull up ETH/USD and then click the quote button, there's a minimum order quantity. So for Kraken, ETH/USD pair has a minimum order quantity of 0.002 ETH.
I see. Okay, cool. Last error message. What does this mean? Fail to enter new position. Liquidation only before expiration. Liquidation only. Contract is about to expire. Please contact the trade desk.
Means you blew that account. You got to go buy a new one.
or
that
you
the
hit the
same
daily
one?
loss limit. Sometimes you can hit a daily loss limit in the middle of the day, and you will lose the ability to trade that account just for the day. But then the next day you go to trade, you'll have access again, depending on what you have left in your max loss limit. Assuming this is a prop firm account. Was this indeed a prop firm account, Tom?
I don't think so. I think this was
Actually,
an error on this.
Actually, this one's different. I didn't read the whole message. This is because it's a contract that's about to expire, and they're trying to buy a contract.
Right. I saw the liquidation only and just went with it.
It's the same thing. Usually, when you blew the account, it would say liquidation only, but without the before expiration part.
Right, but that still happens. But that happens, or this error message happens because they can't trade that current contract anymore.
That's right.
You can only sell it. Yeah, it's like if you hold it, you can exit it, but even though it hasn't expired yet, and every broker implements this slightly differently, where like I think TradeStation, for example, like you can buy the previous current contract like up to like an hour before it expires. Whereas other brokers, even though it hasn't expired yet, if you try to buy it and open up a new position, they won't allow you to do it. And I don't know what the logic is, but every broker just decides like, I guess it's probably a risk. Like the volume is so low that they're just like, there's really no point in allowing anyone to trade it. They might buy it and then not be able to sell it to anybody.
All right, cool. Well, that's it for the Hoarder questions for this week. So that wraps up another office hours. We'll be back next Tuesday. Oh, wait, whoa. Before I do that, I'm sorry. There is one last thing. A couple of things came in on the features request. So I'm just going to mention the 3 here. We've talked about a few, but I do like to honor that people have requested it. The first person here, dark mode option. Please include dark mode option. I know that's been talked about. Definitely something that's on the radar.
We're almost there. We've taken a lot of steps to get there. We had a few more color updates we needed to make in order to make that possible.
Absolutely. Next one was when contracts are about to expire, it'd be great if we got alerts and emails as well. I don't know how feasible this is.
It's tough. We don't have we just don't have the data. We can maybe get the data in the future, but we don't have both we have the expiration date, but I don't think it's really, they don't want an expiration notice. They want a notice before it flips from the current to the next. And then I'm
Yeah.
assuming they also want it only on the things that they have a position open in. And we don't have in our database today a list that gets kept up to date of all the positions, because we depend on the broker API to know what the state of your positions are. So
Right.
there might be a way we could do it, but it would be, I'll have to think about that one.
I mean, we've been talking about this on the marketing side. I think what we're going to do is at least just send out emails for the main contracts that everyone everyone is trading, and just kind of broadcast that email to everyone, or at least everybody that has a futures account connected. And it would just give you a heads up on gold and oil and nat gas and the stock index futures as well, because that's primarily where most of the activity is.
It's funny. Do the brokers not do this
They do.
either?
Yeah, they do. At least some of them do. I know TradeView gives you a warning on expiring contracts. TradingView doesn't give you any kind of heads up, but they do have that indicator that's built into the chart telling you when the contract rollover is going to take place. So my recommendation is to, pay attention to where rollover takes place on your signal source. Vast majority of people are using TradingView, and I think that you should enable the contract rollover setting in your settings on TradingView, and then you'll know what's coming up and you know when to change the symbol over.
Right. The last thing over here, add news filter. If there's a major news like FOMC, it pauses automation. Having a property in the JSON message that allows us to pause or reactivate a strategy, is that something that might be could be on the menu?
Maybe. I think there's a few different ways to look at this. Like, on one hand, you can write this into your Pine script. You could set specific dates that are blackout dates that you don't want to trade, and then keep your strategy from executing the alert from your signal source. That's the best and most recommended path right now, is to put that logic onto your platform. I have many strategies I've written where I have blackout dates already in mind. So like FOMC dates, or dates that I know the market's only going to be closed, but there's like a short electronic window. I don't really want to be trading in that 4-hour electronic window. The second option, of course, is some kind of JSON filter that says, if this is true, then allow it to trade. I'm not as big of a fan of that, but we do have a ticket on our roadmap around putting in the dates ourselves and then letting people choose whether they want to trade those. It's way down the line. It's not something that's coming up at the moment. So for now, I think the best choice is to either manually pause your strategies the day before a big event is coming and be in charge of the event, or put it directly into your Pine script.
You can just see it. We can get the data from Benzinga. They have the news data. Mm-hmm. But I can just see it. Someone turns on that filter, and then it causes them to miss a trade, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't want that day."
Not that economic event, only the other economic events. Yeah, I think it's honestly best that you do it yourself. Stay in control of what days you want to trade and what you don't, because sometimes people do want to trade FOMC days.
Yeah,
I always think to myself, I was about to put this on a friend of mine, but like I do this as well, where I forget that an event is happening. Like, I'm not paying attention to all of them, and I don't care about CPI. I don't pay attention to FOMC. And then I go, oh, this thing just blew out. Oh, Jerome Powell is talking. Damn it. If I could just have a set in, I just go, I never want to be in a position while this is happening, or never, anyways, I never want to be in a position as this happened. It would be protection for me. But then that's like I shouldn't be trading, essentially. If that's what I'm relying on, I should just be like, okay, I'm not paying attention to what's going on. I shouldn't actually be in this position.
Yeah, I think the data is also unreliable too, right? Because like the dates can move, and the specific time of the day is like unknown in a lot of cases. Like it can just be delayed sometimes. So like I don't know how you would programmatically. I guess if you just block out the whole day, is that what you think it would be? It'd be the whole day, or it would be a day plus a specific window within the day?
Is it not specific? Because I built a calendar.
I know it is, but I'm just saying, like, it can move. Is my point? Is that, like, if Jerome Powell is just like late or whatever, like I've seen it happen where you're sitting there waiting for it to happen, but it's delayed for whatever reason, because it's not, it's involving humans and cameras. Like it's not always going to be.
Oh, but you don't mean like the day
exact.
is different. just like the
I've never
hours?
seen it. I've never seen it be different a whole day, but I have seen it like you're expecting it to be at a specific time, but then it ends up being a couple hours later.
I see.
I see. Yeah, I guess in that case, I would just block out the whole zone. But I think this is a good place to remind people that automated trading doesn't mean you set it and forget it and walk away and never touch your computer again. You've got to stay on top of monitoring how everything is executing and ensuring that if there is an update to the timing of when a scheduled event is going to take place, that you've updated your strategies to account for that. Relying on TradersPost to try and do that for you could lead to some disastrous outcomes, and we don't really want to be responsible for that kind of execution rule, and especially if there's kind of like a weird mishap there, like in John's case where they've moved the event and then we moved the timing, but you felt like, oh no, I would have wanted to trade that first 2 hours. Like the number of individual preferences that can take place for each trader is enough to where we say those types of things really need to be in your court. You need to be in charge of those types of events.
Maybe at a minimum, if we get that data from Benzinga, then we just like integrate the display of the news and the events in the user interface so that the user doesn't have to go like find it on Google or TradingView. It's just the all-in-one TradersPost platform. They can do even the news stuff directly in our platform.
Yeah, we could do some news integration. We've got a good relationship with Benzinga, so at a minimum, we could just work with them on integrating their news feed into our platform.
Or it could be like a wiki where it's the community that's like updating the dates and stuff like that. I don't know.
Sure.
Get it for free. You can get it for free. Get it for free. All right. That's it for us. We're going to be back next Tuesday for more office hours. If you have any questions, feedback, or feature requests, as you can see, we listen. We care. If it's about OAuth or it's about prop firms, we're here for you. So please send them in to support, message on YouTube, on Twitter, or carrier pictures, smoke signals, anything like that. We're going to be listening. We'll be here on Thursday this week for more blueprint walkthroughs. We're going to be reverse engineering YouTube videos and turning them into automated strategies and showing you how to connect that to TradersPost, which has been fun. And on Friday, we'll be here for after hours for market commentary. Look, if you missed last week, you would have missed getting Bitcoin at $99 99 handle. So I don't know what you're waiting for. Come on and watch on Friday, 4 o'clock. It's a great time, everyone involved. Until then, we wish you guys, as always, happy trading.
Cheers, everyone.
Hey guys.